As you say before, my name is Earle Crosby. I'm the director of the Watersheds branch for the Karuk Tribe's Department of Natural Resources. I want to thank CDC for having us here today. I'm here to let you know first is where we are, where the Karuk Tribe is. We are located in the far northwestern portion of California. Heck, I can almost spit. We're between I-5 and Highway 101, east of Shasta. Our territory encompasses 1.3 million acres on the Klamath River, in the Klamath River Basin. 9% of it is currently occupied by the Forest Service, Six Rivers National Forest and the Klamath National Forest. We also take in portions of Humboldt County, Siskiyou County, and Dora Norte. The people have been here for since time began, as we spoke of earlier. And in terms of the cannabis production, we're looking at and concerned with both the legal aspect of cannabis farming and also the illegal aspect of cannabis farming, both on private land and out there on the occupied territories with the trespass roads, as they're called. Our two main concerns are water quality and water quantity. Since we are and have been for many years, trying to get the dams out, trying to deal with some of the other issues of water quality and quantity on or in the Klamath. Water is a part of the tribal people's lives here. The water supports our fisheries, and the fisheries are very important subsistence type of food resources that are utilized. Also, a lot of the plants are used for basket weaving. Weaving is putting those plants into your mouth. So for water quality, to address these issues, we have been using passive samplers that are deployed for 28 days in given creeks or given watersheds to try to get a handle on what's in that water. Because as being a rural community, a lot of the water that either tribal and non-tribal communities and people use are springs and creeks. It's non-treated water, except for we have a small treatment facility here in town. So once we were understanding that there's a lot of illegal trespass grows out there, and there's a certain amount of of legal and quasi-legal cannabis farms in the hillsides on the private properties, we were kind of concerned of what's actually in the water and what may be coming off of those known and unknown sites. So as part of this passive sampling regime that we've taken up, we're able to detect insecticides, pesticide compounds, and also pharmaceutical compounds that were detected through a soil sampling below known cannabis cultivation sites. So this was concerning us because in some of these watersheds that we tested, there's no private property on them. They're out in the middle of nowhere. So we're finding these compounds, and that's giving us a bit of concern. They're not rising to the level of human health concerns, but there's one in Redcap Creek, some pesticide, because it's rising to the level of, it could be affecting the food chain. Amphibs may be getting, or can be infected by this, or be affected by this pesticide that we're finding in the creeks. We're continuing to monitor these same creeks. I think at the fifth run, we're trying to do another one this summer during low flow to see if we can, ascertain where these illicit farms may be up in the hills. And for the water quantity, I have to agree with some of the folks earlier that yes, maybe cannabis on the whole is doesn't use a lot of water, the cannabis farming, as opposed to alfalfa farming in the Scott Valley. I mean, that uses an ungodly amount of water, or actually ranching for cattle in the Shasta, uses an ungodly amount of water. But we're finding a more localized effect of this usage, especially down in Yurok land. I don't mean to speak for the Yurok people; it's a different tribe. But a few years ago, they were having issues where folks that weren't living on the reservation were utilizing the upstream sources of water for their cannabis farms, and they're actually drying up these small creeks, these seasonal creeks that other people rely on below them for water. So the tribe had to truck water into folks to ensure that had enough drinking water to last through this prolonged drought that we're dealing with. So that's the quantity, issue there. Is it's more localized, and we're trying to get a handle on that as well. The UROCs have been very proactive in trying to contact landowners and let them know about their water usage, and try to encourage them to quit these practices that aren't efficient use of water. That we're concerned about. One more thing I would have to add is some of these illegal trespass grows. There's a concern of we don't know where they are out in the landscape. Not just having an effect on water quality through the use of herbicides and pesticides and indiscriminate use of them. Label says there's also a concern of our tribal people being of stumbling, and our employees of stumbling upon these illegal grows that are out there in the woods, because the Forest Service law enforcement agencies will not let us know where these are, where these potentially may be. So, just the other day, our wildlife crew stumbled across one that was active last year, and it looks like it'll more than likely be active this year. So that's another one of our concerns is, people out there, Karuk people being Karuk people on the landscape, could run across these gardens that may not be occupied by people who are willing to do violence. So that's another concern of ours that we're trying to address. It's being addressed slowly but surely, and we're hoping in the future here there'll be a better cooperation with U.S. Forest Service law enforcement to be able to we can assist each other to make these woods safer for not just tribal people but non-tribal people as well. I look forward to any questions in the answer period. Thank you.
Thanks, Earle. I guess while we give people a chance to submit some questions, let me turn my video on as well. I'll just keep it with you for a second. So you'd mentioned water quality, which is a topic that a lot of us, other members of this panel, haven't really been involved with as much. I was wondering if you could just talk for a second about some of the challenges you've faced, faced trying to do water quality sampling for cannabis and compounds related to cannabis cultivation.
Yeah, some of the problems we've been facing is we're scattered for there's folks all up and down the river, so we're just trying to ascertain what are the best creeks to be able to test from. Also having access to these testing sites that are relatively easier for us to get to, because sometimes, like we talked about earlier, was like Dillon Creek is one of the places that we were testing from. It's just the access is problematic, and then if we're out there during the high flow, then you're putting people in a position where they can get seriously injured, try to get down to where these samplers are being deployed, and we have to make sure that the samplers don't get washed away. And also, we have an issue with in some of the hydrograph is when the climate drops really low. We are trying to put samplers at the mouths of creeks, and when the climate drops so low, and then the mouth drops, and then your sampler is stuck high and dry. So you only get, instead of a 30-day or a 28-day window of sampling, you only get maybe 15 before it comes out of the water. So just being able to find the right spot is problematic.
Yeah, I could imagine. It looks like we have a question here. Yeah,
well, I just had a really quick question related to what you were just saying, Earle. Are you guys trying to hone in on the timing of when you're deploying these? Like, are you trying to get them out, to try to capture kind of that first fall flush, or are you just getting them out kind of whenever you can throughout the growing season?
No, we're trying to, we targeted it. The first one we did through the whole water year for a couple of years is mainly trying to get that first flush, and also trying to get a little bit of high water, and also trying to throw our samplers out there and catch the that low flow. So you have different, different flow patterns to be able to ascertain, when is it and how much we may be getting in the creeks. Time to detect it, because we're going to try to use our samplers to try to hone in on where these grows may be, just trying to deploy them, up the creek or up into the watershed, and try to be able to just hone in on where they may be, what tributary they may be, utilizing the grow site.